Welcome to this week's Rider Support.
This week we're going to talk about buying your first time trial bike, when it's okay to ditch somebody on the group ride. But first I want to talk about the best cycling purchases which I've ever made. Sarah, welcome.
Welcome, Anthony. How are you? Sorry, I spaced out there for a second.
Different planet. It's showtime. Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, first question. Anthony, I'm about a year into my cycling journey and there seems to be a million things I need to buy. I'm trying to figure out for my upcoming birthday what items are essential and which items are just well marketed. I'd love to know what the best items you've bought on your cycling journey are, Tom.
I've done this dance before where it's coming up to birthdays or it's coming up to Christmas and you're like texting your mom, your dad, your sister, and you're getting like €50 vouchers off everyone to put together for, actually, I'm trying to pretend like I've done it years ago. I literally
You're doing it now.
Yeah. I've been collecting cycling vouchers for Velodrome in the hope
everything's so expensive.
I know, and I just can't,
You just can't justify some of the big purchases without somebody kind of
like
putting a little bit to
for
it.
€450 or something when you already have cycling shoes. It's a bit extravagant, so I struggle to do that. I have 5 things which I think really changed my cycling, but I'd be curious to know if you have any first.
I have a couple, so mine are all pretty boring.
And I've got one for you as well.
You have one
that
for me?
You do, but you don't know you do. But I'll leave that until the end.
Okay, so I think the best cycling purchase and the best habit to get into when you're a cyclist is, I'm going to get slated in this because it's not sexy at all, but is sunscreen. Now, I know this person's looking for a birthday present, and if I got sunscreen as a birthday present, I'd probably be very disappointed. But I think all cyclists should wear sunscreen out. We're seeing so many people, we're hearing about loads of people having pieces of skin cut out in them because they're long-time cyclists out in the sun.
What?
Including you. Yes, Anthony, you went through the ringer last year with something similar. So skin cancer is very prevalent. Even on days where the sun is not shining, I wear sunscreen. So that would be my number one.
People tuned in for entertainment and you're talking about
I know, I'm giving them a lecture. Giving them a lecture.
But you didn't even say cycling sun cream, which I thought you would.
Yeah, sorry. So there are cycling and sports specific sun creams that you can get, because there is nothing as bad as when you put a sunscreen on and next thing you're sweating and it gets into your eyes. It's stinging, you can't see, it's absolute hell. These ones as well are just, they're sports specific, so you can sweat with them, they won't
I've
drip.
never used it, but Pello Tan.
Okay.
Called.
Oh, very good.
I think that's what it's called. It's
Pello?
a cool name, but
That
it could
is
be
a cool
shite. So
name.
I'll be responsible for shite. But I've seen people using it and shilling it online.
Okay, I love when the brands like crowbar in Pello, Velo, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm here for it. Second thing that I couldn't do without is a smart trainer, because we're in Ireland, the weather is inclement. And I guess even if you live in really warm climates, you can't go outside, it's too uncomfortable outside. Sometimes a smart trainer is brilliant. And the third thing I will say is buy yourself a good set of cycling sunglasses. Make sure that you get value for your money and pick a set that comes with a couple of different lenses. So the lenses are interchangeable. At the moment, I am wearing 100%. And that came with 4 lenses. There's like a red lens, a black lens, a greenish tint lens.
I hate to break to you, we're wearing a set of Temu 100% glasses.
Probably.
I got for like €20.
And I don't care. Are they really Temu? Yeah. Oh, no way. Because I've only found them a couple of weeks ago when we were doing a clear out. And the one that I've been wearing all the last kind of 8 weeks, as I said, weather's absolutely shite here in Ireland, is the clear lens. It's kind of like having a mud guard over your eyeballs.
Face
so
mud guard.
They're my top purchases for
you really covered this full spectrum from indoor training and clear glasses to sun cream. You really expected like every type of weather. I suppose considering we haven't seen the record since 1942 for non-consecutive days of sunshine. At Dublin Airport, they reported 14 days of zero sunshine recently.
Yeah, so 16 days of zero sunshine in a row.
16?
Yeah, in a row.
I'll rattle through mine pretty fast. A cycling raincoat. It's not just for the rain. This is like the most versatile piece of kit you'll own. You start in the morning at 8 a.m. You're riding down to meet the group. I always have my raincoat on. I strip it off. You stop for a coffee midway through the spin. You throw it on for the first 5 or 6 minutes after getting out of the coffee shop. If you're indoors, or if you're sitting outdoors, you can throw it on during the coffee. throw it on at the top of a descent when you're going downhill. Obviously, you throw it on if it's raining. It's just a super versatile piece of kit. If you're doing a super long ride and you're doing, 200k plus, and you start out in the morning and it's cold coming back in the evening, it's just another layer to throw on for the last half hour.
And it's packable, because if you're bringing an extra, okay, not so much a gilet, but if you're bringing an extra jacket,
yeah, which
that's
no one
just
does,
not
yeah.
going to fit in your back pocket. I think the rain jacket is a brilliant idea.
Another one which I recently only got, well, I say recently, like 12 months, is the tail fin bag, which clips onto the back of your saddle as like a pack. That's just been brilliant because you can clip it on and you can go and get the groceries. You can clip it on if you're doing a ride, and you can throw in like just crazy stuff that you would never bring, like a big puffer jacket or a different set of clothes. Like I've ridden down to your mom's house and just brought my laptop and different set of clothes, and you get a full training ride and you have your stuff with you. Then obviously its main application is bike packing, which was brilliant for that as well. And I should just say also, these are all items I've bought at full retail before someone starts accusing me of shilling stuff. Next one, super cheap tire pressure gauge. Can't even remember what brand we bought. Was it Top Peak?
Yes, Top Peak. It's just such a cool piece of kit. I don't know why. It's just very satisfying to know exactly how much pressure is in your tires.
And it will save you a set of teeth.
It'll save you a set of teeth, yeah.
Sliding out. I recently had a friend who I'm coaching who rode Santa Val. And one of the things I was just saying to him is, like, on the technical tricky descents, he's only been cycling a few years and we're kind of getting to this level. And advice for the descents, I'm saying to him, make sure your tire pressure is nailed, keep your weight back and hold on to your bars. And if you have those nailed, you really minimize your risk of crashing there. But so many people will do the second and third item on that list, but then be rocking like 85 psi and they'll hit a wet route and just slide out completely.
I have to say I was totally skeptical about the difference that tire pressure makes when you're on these kind of tricky surfaces, but it's probably the number one thing that you should be
Jeremy
looking at.
Power sitting in your seat right there talking about, like, literally for half an hour talking to me about tire pressure and the difference between like 11 and 13 psi in a cyclocross race. It's different saying like mid-pack and winning the race.
Yeah, I was going gravelling. I had an amazing day of gravelling the day before yesterday with a friend Fiona, and as I checked the tire pressure calculator that you have up on the website, which was amazing. That you invented. And I looked at it and it said 35 and 35 in both tires. And I was like, it feels so weird as a roadie going out onto the gravel and putting 35 PSI into my tires. But you just have to roll with it. I had the most amazing, comfortable spin, not one single puncture as well. So definitely helps.
I wasn't going to throw it in, and we don't need to debate it much because we all know what it is, but gravel bike really changed my relationship with cycling. Because for a long time I was riding off-road on my road bike, so I just finish a road climb and then the gravel climb would start and go, sure, I'll chance it, and I'd go down and you'd end up getting into all sorts of problems with sliding out, or just it's not enjoyable on your road bike. I was doing that for literally 5-6 years until gravel bikes came around, and it's been a total game changer for me.
Yeah, I think there is like a little bit of pushback from the cycling community about gravel bikes. Are they a gimmick? Is this
there's
just
actually
a
a question
fad?
later on about
That's
that.
right, yeah. Is this just a fad? But I have to totally disagree with anyone who doesn't respect that gravel is a real thing, and it's a very fun discipline, an amazing new addition to the cycling disciplines.
Actually, maybe we'll jump onto that question next.
Okay.
See if you can dig it out there.
Okay. Oh, you missed one of your... Sorry, I'm just looking. I'm sneakily looking at your notes.
The last one was my leg warmers. And these this edition comes from a place of absolute poverty in my life where I was training, but I didn't have any leggings. Like, you've come to a world where cycling, you've leggings and stuff. I was
bougie.
broke ass student. And going from out training on a Saturday morning in shorts, like you see so many young lads in our group that are students and they're going through the same struggle now, going from shorts to having shorts and leg warmers, it was a game changer for me.
Yeah, they're a great purchase. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, I'll scroll down here to Andrew's question. Hey, wonder if you could address a question on Friday's Q&A podcast. Can I put gravel wheels and tyres on an aluminium road bike and take it on gravel terrain? Is the whole gravel bike thing a bit of a marketing gimmick? I don't often ride gravel. However, I'm signed up to do a gravel event with some friends next month. As tempting as it is, I really don't want to fork out a small fortune on a gravel bike. And that's from Andrew.
We'll get into specifics, but like borrow one or rent one will be my really quick summation of that. It's like going for a round of golf with a friend and using, like I said, a wooden shaft golf clubs from the 1600s or something, like, sure, you're going to get through it, maybe. Like, are you going to hit the ball straight once off the tee? Probably not. Like,
are you going to have the same experience as you should be having on that particular course?
You're going to have carrying the bike for it. Like, okay, so let's break it down. What are the differences? It's definitely not a marketing gimmick. The cycling industry has leaned heavy into it, I think, off the back of, we could speculate all day, but roads, that relationship between drivers and cyclists getting more hostile. I think there's been a decline domestically in road racing, definitely in Ireland, the UK and the US, and that's pushed people towards gravel. And simultaneously had like Kimo Seymour and the Lifetime Grand Prix doing amazing stuff in the Gravel Earth series. And I don't think it's a marketing gimmick whatsoever. It's the most fun you will have on the bike is gravel riding. A few major problems you have with throwing gravel wheels or tires onto a road bike. Firstly, it's going to be tire clearance. This year, we're going to be riding Reap bikes from an amazing custom bike manufacturer in the UK. And one of the selling points for this bike is they have over 50 mil tire clearance without changing the Q factor of the cranks. Ignore the Q factor because he's just getting into this and that's getting a bit technical. But as a general rule, wider tires are better. More comfort, more efficiency, more grip, everything. So you're definitely not going to have clearance for 50 mil tires. Okay, that's not the end of the world. Can you have clearance for 38 mil tires? Probably not.
Is that the minimum?
36, probably not.
What is the minimum that Andrew would need to be able to fit on his aluminium road bike to get around a gravel course?
Look, if he has an old bike, from Andrew's question, sounds thrifty. So if he has an old bike, look, you mightn't even clear 28 mil tires in your old bike. Like, I'm riding 28 mil road tires on my road bike. Now, you are having bikes coming out like the 51 Sika Aidan Duff's company, which I think has clearance on its road bike for up to 32s, maybe even a little bit wider. I couldn't swear to that. Road bike manufacturers are starting to build wider and wider, but even 32 or 34 if you're going onto gravel, it's super, super narrow. Like, I would say 40 is probably the narrowest I would ever ride on gravel, and that wouldn't be like by choice. That would be forced to do it.
So it's going to affect him in a couple of ways, isn't it? If he goes on anything less than 38, comfort, he's going to end up with punctures. And
well, that's even moving on to the second point. I think you want to have tubeless tires for gravel. You can debate the merits of tubeless, and people will ad nauseum on road group spins. You puncture, it's messy and stuff, but you're riding much lower PSI on gravel spins. Pinch flats are a real thing that happen quite frequently. Tubeless tires are the only solution to pinch flats. So you want to be riding tubeless as well. So that's, like you said, that's a second problem. So you've the clearance problem where you're just not going to be able to, like, you're not going to be able to navigate for two reasons. You're not going to have the grip, you're not going to have the comfort, but you're also not going to have the clearance to get any bit of mud stuck to the tires, which is going to happen. The wheels will just stop spinning and you're going to be carrying your bike all day. Like the gravel grinder we went to a couple of years ago, like, it's just a muddy day out.
It's a muddy day out. I had a stick that I was quite fond of in my back pocket, and that was just for clearing the mud off in between my fork and my tires, and that was, you know, and I have a lot of clearance. I have a lot of to play around with. So, and
actually on that, Steve was saying to me, one of the lads in our group spin was saying that the international standards, the ISO, the international standards body, I think they require 2 mil either side of your tire for you to advertise the bike as that. So if I'm saying my bike takes 50 mil tires, it needs to take a 54 because it needs to have 2 mil clearance on each side.
Yeah.
So, and that's like you're saying, because muck gets stuck in there and you need to put a stick down or you need it to dissipate itself. Another few things that aren't as important as those two, because the first clearance one just means it's total impossible to ride. The handlebar flare, handlebars are typically a little bit wider on gravel. That's because you have some really technical descents that you don't want to be stuck holding on to, like 38 bars or something like that. Wheel strength is different. Wheels are manufactured to withstand you hitting a big rock on the descent and to not totally crumble. The climbs are typically a lot steeper, so you have gearing closer to a mountain bike where you can ride up these 42% pitches that are, 20 meters long and just have enough gears to power over it. And another one which is really overlooked is the stopping power. I'm not sure if you remember when we came down Alto de Letras, we were on rim brakes and the rims were just getting super hot.
Yeah.
So that's an illustration of stopping. And if we were on rotors, the rotors would get hot as well, but you have more stopping power the larger the rotor you have. So a gravel bike typically has a larger rotor than a road bike because there's more hard braking requirements. Like you think about last year when we rode Santa Val, coming down those bumpy descents, like you're riding the brakes all the way down on some of those.
Yeah.
So you're kind of going through a double whammy there of having no grip and not being able to stop.
Yeah.
So in
scary.
summation, it's like a disaster.
Andrew, I don't know. I mean, I think it's pretty clear there that Anthony says hard no on it. If you do decide to go for this, and chapeau, please let us know. But we would encourage you to get in touch with your local bike shops. Maybe they'll do a rental for you, or of course wherever you're traveling to for your race, there's probably loads of bike shops.
But would you
as
borrow
well.
someone from one of the club? Like I know this is the thing with bike packing. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'll get into bike packing this year." I know this is a segue. People are like, "I'll get into bike packing this year. I need to get all the bits." It's like just borrow mine.
Exactly.
Like, just take mine because you don't need. Everyone in the club doesn't need to have every single piece of kit.
One of our friends, Kenneth, borrowed my gravel bike for a gravel race
with no sealants in it.
But then he went and bought his own one, but he didn't go and just change wheels on his road bike. He actually just borrowed a bike from somewhere else. If you get somebody to do that, absolutely amazing as well. Okay, Andrew, the very best of luck with that race. You're going to fall in love with gravel like we all have. Okay, next question.
Roadman, whether you're a weekend warrior or a world tour rider, the right tools can make all the difference. Enter 4i's Precision 3 Plus Power Meter, the latest innovation from 4i, designed to help you reach peak performance. The Precision 3 Plus Power Meter is a compact yet powerful unit. It weighs just 9 grams and it's packed with features that set it apart, including integration with Apple's Find My network, giving you the peace of mind by letting you track your power meter wherever it is. Plus, you've got up to 800 hours of battery life. We all know that accuracy is key, and 4i's delivers a groundbreaking plus or minus 1% accuracy thanks to their unique 3D strain gauge technology. For those seeking even more data, the Precision 3 Plus Pro Power Meter offers dual-sided power meter metrics, giving you detailed insights into pedaling efficiency, torque effectiveness, and left-right balance. 4i's offers versatile product options to suit your needs. Choose from ride-ready power meters with pre-installed units on Shimano cranks, or up for factory-installed power meter where you send in your crankset for a custom installation. Ready to elevate your cycling game? Trust 4i's Precision 3 Plus Power Meter. Precision, performance, and peace of mind all in one. Learn more by visiting 4iiii.com. That's 4iiii.com. I'm going to put that in the description down below.
When do I stop asking people on the group ride to slow down for me and just leave? Like this is a very interesting question because
Targeting you, is it?
Well, I don't know. It's I mean, certainly, okay, so for personal experience that a few weeks ago I was out in a spin. It was supposed to be kind of a very slow spin, but there was some much stronger people on the ride. So the levels were very, very different. Now, I was kind of every couple of, like every half an hour, every 40 minutes, being like, lads, can we slow down a bit? Can we slow down a bit? Now, the guys weren't really they're not doing it on purpose. They're not saying, oh, we're going to give Sarah a hard day or we're going to turn the screws on her. But they would slow down and then slowly the speed would kind of creep up over the next 20 minutes. And next thing I'm watching my heart rate creep up with it. And I ask again. And then I kind of say to them, oh, do you know what? I'm going to roll off and do my own thing. And I'm like, they probably think I'm a brat. I'm not being a brat, but it's just no one is happy in that situation. And I feel like a bit of a bitch.
But that is hard to moderate the speed. You've done this to somebody else on Sunday and not through any, I'm sure, intention to turn the screws on him.
No.
But I asked you to slow down.
Just a loss
and
of
you did slow down.
Just the concentration.
And then over the next 5 minutes, I watched as you just brought your speed back up again and he got back into the predicament that he was in as we asked you to slow down at the start. So when you point the finger, Sarah, sometimes you have 3 fingers pointing back at you.
No, I totally agree. It happens, and I don't think it's not done out of malice from the people who are riding up the front. It's you get into a conversation, you get into the zone, and the speed kind of creeps up. I think it needs a good, strong leader on the group ride to constantly be saying, let's keep it at this speed, or let's hold
even
it back.
rewinding from that more than a strong leader, because a leader is going to enforce rules. You need to have a consensus as to what the objective of the group is.
Yes.
Are we going out? And that's why the one you talked about from the Sunday before was that's advertised as a really slow, cruisy Sunday spin. And it was the same criticism I had of you pushing the speed the Sunday after that, because it's a really slow, cruisy, casual cafe spin. Like, people shouldn't be hanging on for dear life. The objective of that spin is to get new people into the spin that don't feel comfortable coming on a normal group ride.
But let's say that, for instance, this listener Justin actually gave us a lot of information. If somebody's coming on a normal ride that's not particularly cruisy, you do, as someone who's new-ish to cycling, you do end up starting feeling like a little bit of a burden when you're kind of constantly saying, oh, can you slow down? Can you wait for me? And then if they do wait for you at the top of a climb, they're rested, and as soon as you get there, they're off again. So it's, how do you manage that?
I think it's managing the expectations going into the ride, because as much as, you know, I romanticize and I always talk about the group ride, maybe too much. I get some abuse in the YouTube comments from this romantic notion of the group ride, but I feel passionately that the group ride is all those things, and it is meant to be this collective where we're only as fast as our slowest person. That being said, you need to caveat that and say the group ride can't constantly be a race to the bottom. We had problems last summer with people who would come out on the group ride who never rode the bike, and they would come out on the group ride and then they would be dropped, and it was like absolutely ruined the whole group ride. And you're like, now you're catering the group ride for the lowest common denominator, who only comes to the group ride once every 3 or 4 months, does no riding in between, and now you're asking 20, 25 people to put all their plans for training and having some fun on a Saturday on hold to cater for one person who's totally in over their head. So it's that like matching of objectives. Like, you need to understand who the group you're going out with is. I'm not going to go over to Girona, show up with a bunch of World Tour guys and then expect them to slow down all day. I'm on their group ride. I need to calibrate my expectations being left alone to their training ride. So I think and I get messages on Instagram all the time asking people, can they join our group ride? And I'm always like, yeah, absolutely. And the next question they'll ask most of the time is, what's the average speed? And average speed only goes some way to telling how hard the ride is, because you're in the wheel. Is it flat? Is it windy? But it does give a little bit of a barometer. I actually, a few years ago, one of my teammates, McKenna, we talk about a bit on the podcast, I think he submitted a PhD proposal, or he was going to, around a grading system for a group ride similar to golf, where it's a golf handicap. So it factors in a load of different things, thresholds, elevations. So you could say how hard's a group ride, and you'd be like, it's an 8. Yeah. And we all know what an 8 handicapper in golf is, because we have a friend who's an 8 handicapper in golf. I don't know, it's an interesting idea. I still don't think we have a good vocabulary for explaining how hard a group ride is.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we need some more words to say to somebody. Yeah, I think it's a 4-star ride. It's a 3.5, or I think that's an absolutely
like
brilliant
the cobbles
idea.
on Carrefour de Labra.
Yeah, get back on it, Sean McKenna. Come on, we need that system.
But then a couple of times where you definitely shouldn't be saying to somebody go on is like, if you're out of fuel, if you don't know where you are, if you're maybe like a vulnerable person, like you're a young girl and you're out the countryside far from home on your own, and you don't have like mechanical ability. You know, I think there are some reasons I would say, regardless of the group's objective, saying, okay, I'm in over my head, I've made a bad decision this week, but don't leave me on my own. Like, bring me back to civilization, and then I'll find my way on my own. But yeah, I think the main thing is that communication at the outset. We tried to do it as a fast group and a slow group within one, so it's quite cruisy for like 60 minutes, and then we split it. But yeah, it's not perfect.
Yeah, it's not perfect. But when do I stop asking people on the group ride to slow down? I mean, do you 3-4 times, or you just hang in there and then maybe don't come on the next ride because it's not suitable for you?
You know, there's ways that if you think about our group ride, there's ways you can still, you don't have to just leave the group. There's ways to interact with that group where you do a part of the ride. You do the first, like I wasn't feeling well last weekend. I said to you, I'm only going to ride as far as Portmarnock, which is 45 minutes with the group. And then I plan to ride back on my own. Or you could ride directly to the coffee shop at the midway point and ride home on your own. Yeah, if you're tired, I'll say to you.
Yeah, if I'm kind of have a lot of stress from that week's training, you're just like, just go straight to the coffee shop and then do the second half.
Or ease up when it gets hardest and plot a shortcut back to the midway point or a shortcut to intersect. So there's loads of ways to interact with the group. But I think the main thing is knowing that expectations at the start and then communicating to someone in the group your plan so people don't just think you're dropped and are waiting for you.
You're gone. Okay, next question.
Yep.
Okay, Anthony, how do I explain to my family and friends that I need to be disciplined? I need to eat healthy now and get up early in the morning and train and not have those glasses of wine. I've changed my lifestyle over the last 6 months. I've lost over 8 kilos and I feel 10 years younger, but my family doesn't seem to support it. My wife constantly sabotages me and grumbles that I train so much, even though I'm conscious to get it done early when everyone in the house is asleep. My friends are constantly hassling me and slagging me about being a square. Any advice?
It's hard, isn't it?
That's really hard.
It's a hard question. Like if your wife is constantly grumbling that you train too much, even though you train early, like I would say, does she have a point? Like I always say, we talk about this. If I go and I ride my bike for 2 hours in the morning, I feel that adds to my day. I feel fresh. I feel alert. I get more done. If I ride my bike for 3 hours or above in the day, my day is basically a write-off. No creative work gets done. Maybe I can do some admin tasks, but my day is pure slobbering. So even though you're getting your training done early in the morning, are you coming back? And then you're just not present with your wife and you're not present with your kids and you're not taking your business or your family objectives forward for the rest of the day. Because if that's the case, I think there's a lot of merit to your wife's grumbles. And that's not saying the two aren't compatible. It's maybe looking at your training plan and saying, hey, instead of riding so hard in the morning, can I do that last thing in the evening? Or can I change up my session? Can I do, instead of a 2 hour ride, can I intersperse in a little bit of intensity to get the same training stress? And now I'm doing 3 by 10 minute threshold in the evening in a 60-minute session, which is more of a working man session rather than riding 2.5 hours in the morning with 2 by 20 threshold, which is kind of a pro rider session. I think that's important to see, is there merit in her actual underlying concerns. Outside of that, I'd be saying it's important to communicate the benefits of it. You've communicated the benefits here quite clearly to us, that you feel 10 years younger. You know, explain that to her, that you do feel 10 years younger, you've lost weight, you have more energy. Would the libido go up? I don't know. Maybe it's down.
Maybe she doesn't like that.
Maybe she doesn't care. Maybe she has her own thing going on the side. Who knows? Other than that, I would set boundaries. I would say, look, these are the times I'm going to train at, and I'm fully present and available to do stuff outside of these times, but here's the times I'm training at. Here's my important events that, I need to tighten. You don't need to be super tight. You've lost 8 kilograms. The hard part is losing weight. The easy part is maintenance. So you don't need your whole year where you're super strict. You just need periods of your year where you're strict. Likewise, coming up to an event, you want to tighten the strings a little bit, but out the far side of the event, you can loosen the strings a little bit. So communicating all that. And with your friends, I've done this really bad historically, but I had, quite like high performance goals. I don't find balance easy in my life. And I went like full gas at cycling. And then the collateral damage to that is like friendships, because you just torch friendships, because if you're riding the bike 25 hours a week, you're kind of screwed.
There's not much space for anything else.
So, but then it's like, what's that Buddhist saying? Like, people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So is it a case that they're not actually friends, they're just your old drinking buddies, that maybe it's that period of your life is over and it's okay to let go of those friendships to make space for new friendships? I think there's an argument for that as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of your points. I mean, going back to your wife and your family, it's really hard when your goals and your new lifestyle isn't kind of aligned with everybody else. You need to first of all, you need to continue on in your journey. I mean, if this is something that you're now focusing on, there's nothing more special and more precious than your health, and that's going to be for your kids going through the next couple of years, and your wife and your relationship, your own mental health, and the, you know, how fulfilled your own life is over the next few years. So I would say please try and continue to focus on this, and don't let other people's opinions take you out of this journey that you're on. Having said that, Anthony, I think you're right. You need to we get questions like this all the time. It's like, why can you not communicate with your other half a little bit better to kind of say, okay, well, why are you unhappy with me training? As you said, Anthony, you made some excellent points there, that maybe it's just having such a knock-on effect on their lives together.
It puts a stress. Like, it puts a stress. Even like, you know, yesterday you rode the gravel bike basically all day.
Yeah.
And it's like, totally changed the shape of the other person's day.
It does.
Because now you're like, okay, normally we do this together, or normally we split this, like bringing the dogs out. Normally that gets split 50-50. Then it's like, okay, actually I need to do that for the entire day now. And it kind of curtails plans you can make. It's a stress that's...
Yeah. So, like, be aware that that's maybe something underlying that your wife is doing. With your regards to your friends, I not that I want to say torch them, you know, torch your friends. But if your friends are still stuck in the, I want to go and be a booze hound Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you've no interest in that, well,
but for now,
your lives at the moment are forking away from each other. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean, as you said, you do need to strike a good balance between this sport, cycling. Look, this person who rides in is not a pro. You do need to strike a balance and have that, Anthony, isn't it? It's like, it's not like, don't become so obsessed with cycling and being disciplined that you ruin all of the other good things.
Because how many times have we seen this? Now, you're only getting into cycling. You've even seen this a couple of times. I've pointed it out with one or two people that have come into our group. They come in hot and fast, like they're going to be the next big thing in cycling. And I'm just like to you, I've seen this play out like 10, 20 times before. People come in, cycling's addictive. It's this game of marginal gains where, like, if I lose this bit of weight, if I gain this much power, if I get this much more aero, I'll fly through the categories. Category 4, category 3, when you're racing, they're normally pretty soft if you're that talented or you're that committed. So you fly through these, or you're getting the positive feedback straight away. Then you get to a point at like Cat 2 or Cat 1 where you're like, oh, everybody here trains. I'm not getting that positive feedback that I was anymore. Everyone stopped telling me I'm going to be the next big pro. Yeah. And it slows down. And a lot of those people walk away from the sport. They don't have great longevity on it. And now you've torched that group of friends that you used to go drinking with, and you want to go drinking again. Because
it does become an absolute obsession. Like, everyone who listens to the podcast know that I'm on this big journey now to
obsessive
journey and Badlands. And I'm constantly obsessing about my weight, kit, training, getting on the indoor trainer, doing red light, fasting, you know, all the things that are going to give me any bit of an edge, to the detriment a lot of the time for other things in my life. So yeah, I think maybe, I'm sure this listener was writing and expecting us to say, divorce your wife, torch your friends, and focus on cycling. But I don't think that's anywhere near what you should be doing. I think take a step back, review your week, review your relationship with the bike, and maintain your friendships with your friends and family, and try and get a little bit more balance.
Yeah, and I think that's good advice, because, and it mightn't seem like it off the bat, but it's pro cycling advice. Like, I don't mean professional cycling advice, but pro advocacy position for cycling advice, because all of my friends who've been in cycling for the longest time knock the most fun out of it, because you can have experiences each year where you go bikepacking year after year, you go do races year after year, and if you burn bright for a very short period of time, you never get to experience the compounding gains of year after year, but also the compounding experiences, the compounding friendships of year after year, the compounding effect of having more equipment that you can do more things with year after year. Like, you pick up a cheap mountain bike in the off season. It's like the door opens more and more the longer you stay in the cycling game. And, you know, I'm as motivated for cycling, but in different ways that aren't performance orientated than I was at the very start of the game. So stay in the game. That's the whole thing. Roadman, I'm going to date myself here, but I've been riding the bike for almost 20 years, and in that time I've cycled through every cycling apparel brand out there, and I kept swapping out different apparel brands each season until I found Le Col. There's something really different about Le Col, and as soon as you slip into the gear, you notice it feels different, it feels better. I've had the pleasure of chatting with Yanto Barker on the podcast. He's the Le Col founder, and his dedication to crafting the fastest, most refined cycling apparel out there, it's nothing short of inspiring. Yanto isn't just trying to create gear. I get the feeling he's actively and obsessively trying to perfect cycling gear. Trust me, as soon as you slip on the Le Col kit, as soon as you zip up that jersey, you can feel that commitment. The proof for Le Col, it's in the pudding. This is the same kit Jay Hindley wore when he clinched overall victory in the Giro d'Italia. There's a confidence that comes with wearing apparel that's been battle tested and podium proven in races like the Giro d'Italia. Trust me, feeling good on the bike means you're gonna perform better. If you have a second, I highly advise you to jump on over to lacol.cc and check out their amazing range of kit and experience this feeling for yourself.
Okay, next question, and this is from Shay Herney. Hi Anthony and Sarah, thanks for all your fantastic advice and content you two put out. It's nice to hear unfiltered, honest advice focusing on the practical. It's very helpful. Now I've butchered you up a bit. I'm a triathlete.
No, leave it there. I crashed going around a corner.
Anthony. Okay, stick with us, Shay. I've done a few different long course and short course races over the last few years, and I'm currently racing on a Canyon Endurance with some clip-on TT bars. My question is, do you have a recommendation for a fairly entry-level time trial bike? I show up to events and I'm totally comfortable in my own setup, but I can't help but notice I'm the 1% racing on my road bike. Also, to be honest, I'd fancy a TT bike anyway. Lastly, if you would recommend secondhand, given there's a lot less TT bikes out there in the secondhand market from what I can see, that would be great. And that's, again, from Shay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be as, brands, there's no budget one that I would point at and say, oh, that's the great value budget. I think Decathlon are bringing their TT bike to the market, but it's not going to be budget. It's going to be a expensive one, but they're the only budget bike I can see. But they're a bit Fisher price, so I'd be always slow to tell anyone to get one.
They're as expensive as a normal bike from another brand, though, as you said. I think it's just
you get more bang for the buck
Okay.
off them than you would. Like if you bought a €6,000 Trek versus €6,000 Decathlon, Van Rysel, or whatever they call it, you're going to get a bit more in terms of componentry because they have economies of scale.
Now, I know this is kind of out of your wheelhouse a little bit, but Shay is a triathlete, so he's not really doesn't have to stick to the same rules as we would as cyclists. For instance, like the UCI.
Yeah, most of those are positional rules rather. Okay. Like some of them are like Reap's time trial bike, which I haven't ridden, is not UCI legal because it's one of those soft ride ones. That's specific triathlon, but it's very high end again. Honestly, if I was on a budget, the only place I would look would be the secondhand market. I know that wasn't his name Shay.
Yeah.
I know Shay was saying there's not a proliferation of options in the secondhand market, but that just mean I bought my bike last year, my time trial bike secondhand off Bicycle, and
it just happened to be in Ireland, so it was handy for us to get it. And we're not affiliated with Bicycle at all, but you will have people selling from all over the world that will have the bike that you want.
And then I bought my wheels off eBay.
Yes.
So I'm very well positioned to answer this question right now.
Yeah.
I would look at local classifieds, like we use adverts here in Ireland. I think Shay, from the spelling of his name, is probably based in Ireland. We use adverts.ie. Facebook buy and sell group is really good as well. eBay for international and Bicycle for international. And I think there's Skycom, CYKOM is another one like Bicycle, which has a lot of bikes on it.
And if you're buying from those companies, they insure the bike when it's en route to you. So you're not going to, and if you get the bike and you're like, oh, this isn't DIT, or this isn't what it was advertised as, you've a whole company behind you to sort those issues out. So you're quite well insured if you do go with one of those companies.
So the main thing I'd be looking at is size, to get that right. To get an adjustable set of aero bars, this is more important than getting, you Google the type of aero bars that are on it. And you'll be like, okay, they're like, he has a set of What Shop bars on it, amazing. They're some of the fastest bars you can get. But if there's not very much adjustability on it, fast is fast relative to your body position. So you're better off having a really cheap set of aero bars that have a lot of adjustability. Then you can get your position nailed in the cheap bars, and then you can go off and buy your expensive bars for your birthday presents later on down the road.
Because that's something that we've come up against. Like, I'm toying with doing a few time trials next year, but there's no way I could use the time trial bars that are on the bike that we have. Like, they're way too narrow. It would just
but like sharing a bike is just not,
doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it's not ideal anyway. But that's like, those bars that came with that aren't the best bar choice if I was buying bars, because they're 3D printed bars just in one position. So I've no adjustability to go, I wonder, is this faster if I go 2 mil to the left and 2 mil to the right with my, armrest mounts, or if I angle in. There's none of that is possible. So I'm going to have to buy a cheap set of bars, get my position dialed, and then if I wanted to, hit time trial and seeing hard, then I'm going back to getting something 3D printed or watch up in the position that I've nailed down. So bars would be the main thing for me. I had a good podcast with Matt Bottrell, which is up on YouTube, which should be quite searchable, about time trials. The next one is the interaction of the wheel to the frame is getting quite important. It's not a case of buying your bike and then the wheels as an afterthought. You need to think about the wheels and the bike as a combo, because that contributes quite significantly to aerodynamic drag, getting the wrong wheels to bike combo. I wouldn't put that much focus on group sets. I just think they make such little difference. Like something like a SRAM Rival group set, you're not going to notice much difference between a Rival and a Force or a Red group set, which is multiples of the same price. Rival has aluminium cranks versus Force has carbon cranks. It just doesn't matter that much in time trialing. And here's a wild example, because it sounds like he's on a little bit of a budget on this one. If you wanted to go second hand, but get something from like 10 years old, get a Cervelo P5 rim brake, you're going to get everything so much cheaper. These bikes are still super, super fast. Like, a friend of mine has a Cervelo P5 from 2013. It's a legit, brilliant bike still.
And that's what you were looking at, much older bikes when you were shopping around for your
Giant Trinity
bike.
I was looking at for a long time.
Yeah, but you were kind of struggling to find something in your size. That's why you went for the one that you have now. But yeah, that you were really drilling down into the older bikes, and you were like, the value of this is amazing.
Like, lads winning the Giro on these bikes like 10 years ago, and now they're like 1,200 quid on the secondhand forums. It's unbelievable. The problem for it is you're not really, if you're in that dual economy then of having half your bikes that are disc brake and half that are rim brake, it's kind of annoying. You're like that on your road and gravel at the moment, and it's kind of annoying because you can't switch wheels from one to the other. But yeah, definitely go deep on the classified forums and get started there.
Great, new bike day.
Roadman, also Shay, let us know when you get it, because I'd like a picture. Roadman, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Rider Support. There's an interview up here which you will love, and take 1 second, subscribe to the channel, and if you're enjoying it, please share it into the club WhatsApp groups, because all that extra eyeballs is much appreciated. See you next week.